Alrighty, it's good to be here this morning. If you would, take your Bibles, go to Genesis 22. Genesis 22. Y'all find your place there. I'm going to read you our verse out of Matthew. Y'all are probably thinking to yourselves, how in the world does he preach through the book of Matthew and I've been in Genesis 3 weeks in a row? So you just hang on. We'll get to Matthew in just a little while. But what we're doing is we're looking at some of these people here in the book of Matthew, and we're jumping back to give the story of them out of Genesis as it's going through the lineage of the book of Jesus Christ here. So y'all are in Genesis 22. I'm going to read a couple verses out of Matthew here, and I'll catch up with you. So Matthew chapter 1, verse 1, the book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And Abraham begat Isaac. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas and his brethren. Judas is the Greek form of the Hebrew Judah there, the tribe of Judah. But we talked about Abraham last week, so who do you think we're talking about this week? Not Judah. Who comes after Abraham? Isaac. Thank you. So we've dealt with Abraham. We're going to move into Isaac here. We looked at Abraham's faith. We looked at his faith. That's what he is known for back in the Old Testament. And even today, most definitely we realize that when we say the word Abraham, it seems like his faith is tied in there because Abraham had faith. It was counted unto him as righteousness there. So we talked about faith for Abraham, and then I would like to talk today about Isaac here. And as I was looking at Isaac, I was thinking along the terms and the idea of what the Lord had me to preach out of that. And I believe what he has got for me here in the text is about Isaac's lesson, his lesson. Genesis 22, when I said that, a lot of people probably thought in their mind, okay, I know this story. This is a famous story right here because we know that Abraham is about to take Isaac up on Mount Moriah and he's about to sacrifice Isaac. That's what the whole text is about. That's the story here. It's all focused on Abraham. It's more about Abraham's faith and how that he knew that the Lord was going to take him up there, and he knew that he was going to spare Isaac. How did he know that, and how did I know that he knew that? If you go back and you read it, we'll get to it in a minute. And this is all introduction, by the way, so don't take notes if you're trying to. Don't get started just yet on me. But you'll read in your text there, when Abraham looks at those two servants, he says, y'all stay here with the donkey, and me and my boy Isaac, we're going to go on up the mountain and worship, and we're going to come back to you. So you already knew that him and Isaac were both coming back before he ever even got up there, and the Lord told him to spare Isaac. There's your little nugget in the text if you're interested in it. But Genesis 22, it's all about Abraham's faith, it's about worship, and it's about sacrifice. Those are the themes of the text. But the Lord has showed me something else in it here that I'd like to bring out, and I believe the Lord will use that to help us. As I've often said before, there's nothing new under the sun, so I can't claim that this is a new sermon, but it is a new to me sermon. It's something I've never noticed before until the Lord brought this out of the text to me, and I love it when he does that. When he takes scripture that has been preached to death, if I could put it that way, it's been preached time and time and time again, and he shows me a little nugget of information in there that jumps out to me and helps me. So I know it's about Abraham, I get that, but Abraham wasn't the only one on that mountain. Abraham wasn't the only one that went up there. Isaac was there too. And I know there's a lot of preaching in here that Isaac is a picture of who? Christ. People want to say that Isaac's a picture of Christ. Look at him. He put the wooden altar on his back. He carried it up there that he was going to be sacrificed on. It's a great picture of Christ, but that's not what I'm preaching this morning. I want to preach on some things that Isaac could learn here out of the text that I believe will jump into our life as well and will help us along the way. You see, I believe there's some lessons here in the text that God is trying to give to Isaac and also to us. I would like to divide the text into three different places if I could. Y'all hang with me on it. I believe you got the trip there. I believe you got the time spent on the mountain. And then I believe you got a trip back. There's three divisions or different times in this text that we can look at and split up. And the Lord will help us in each one of those. So as we talk about the trip there, I want to look at how the text starts off. Verse number 1 of Genesis 22 says, And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took two of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place which God had told him. I'll preach the text as we read it this morning. So I believe the first thing that we can notice here is we're talking about Isaac. Isaac had some excitement to go. He had excitement to go with his daddy. And I believe there's a time in our life where we ought to have some excitement to go with our Father. When the Lord comes knocking and says, I've got something for you to do, I've got a trip planned, I've got somewhere for you to go with me, I believe we're excited about it. Think about Isaac here. His daddy's been building altars for years. His dad has known the Lord for years. He has seen him deliver time and time and time again. No doubt they've been sitting around the dinner table, and Abraham is telling his boy Isaac about everything that God has done. He said, boy, let me tell you about this time when when your cousin Lot, when he decided that he was going to live in Sodom, and this king came and stole him away, me and 318 servants, we went and we fought off all of these kings and brought him back. That's what God can do. Isaac, let me tell you, the reason that you're here is because God came by and told us that we were going to have a child, and it took years and years and years, about 25 years, and then he finally brought that to fruition, and now you're here. He's going to go through and tell him time and time again, said, Isaac, let me tell you about God. He called me out of the land where I was and said if I'd go with him, he'd give me a land called Canaan, and I would dwell there, and my inhabitants would own it throughout the rest of time. He's telling him all the stories of what God has done, but here's the deal with Isaac. Isaac didn't see none of them. Isaac didn't get to live them. Isaac didn't get to grow up through them. He just got to hear about what God had done for Abraham. He got to hear about the times that God came and talked to Abraham. And if I'm Isaac, I want to experience that too. I hear my daddy, he talks about when he was fishing a lot, when he was still coaching over at Oxford. He was coaching football and baseball at Oxford. And he had a buddy, and they'd go over to Sardis, and they'd fish these backwaters. And he talks about these little honey holes he had. I don't know if he's lying or telling a fish story or what, but I ain't never seen no honey holes. He ain't never carried me, so I don't know if he's just pulling my chain or if he actually has some and he don't want to share them, or if he's done got old and forgot where they were. I don't know what the deal with it is, but he's never carried me there. I just have to live off of the stories that he's telling me there. I hear other people talking about 2 Mile Bottom over at Sardis and duck hunting and the little honey holes they had here. They told me one time, a buddy of mine, his daddy, used to go down there and hunt. And he said, let me tell you how hard it was to get into this hole. You had to get there and unload the four-wheeler. It's a 2-hour four-wheeler ride to get in there. And we had old John boat that had leaks all in it, but it was good enough for us. So you'd dump the water out of that boat, and you'd set it up, and you'd jump in that John boat, and it was about another 20 minutes paddling that John boat through the flooded timber to get into this hole. And when you were there, man, mallards were just falling in like crazy, and we was killing limits every time we were there. And I finally asked him one day, I said, here's the map. Show me where it is. I want to know where this hole is because I'm going to go find it because I want to go and kill these ducks that you're talking about. He said it's somewhere in here, and he circled like half of Marshall County. I'm like, yeah, I bet there is ducks somewhere in half of Marshall County. I've been all over that south half of Marshall County looking for ducks. I still ain't found the honey hole, so to speak, but I'm living off of his story and his experiences. I want to experience it myself. Isaac here has got to live off what Abraham has said about meeting with God. He wants to experience that himself. We can sit here and go around the room, and some of the old timers could tell you about how that God used to come by and He used to make His presence known. And they had week-long revivals and 2-week-long and 3-week-long revivals. And people were getting saved by the 10s and by the 20s. They can talk about Camp Zion out here and how it used to be booming. They can talk about everything that happened there. I can tell you stories of sitting in a Bible conference and watch kid after kid after kid getting saved. But if you have not experienced that this morning, you want to see it yourself. I think it was Brother Dennis. We were talking about his trip that me and Sue were taking. And he said this, maybe it was Wednesday night. If you've never seen the Grand Canyon, was that you telling me that? He said, if you've never seen the Grand Canyon, you need to go by. Because you can have somebody explain to you the Grand Canyon. Man, it's this giant hole in the ground with a river running down through. The Colorado River runs through that thing. I can tell you all about it. And y'all that ain't never seen it, you're looking at me like, whoop-de-doo, it's a hole in the ground with water in the bottom of it. We can see that down here at the creek. But if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, you know what I'm talking about when I say it's amazing to look at. You know how big it is. You know how you can't even comprehend it. I remember I've been in a boat in the Colorado River going through the Grand Canyon. I got to drive a boat down through there with a tour guide. I don't know why he let me drive, but for some reason he thought I could do it. For all I know, he unplugged the steering wheel and he was doing it behind me, and I just thought I was doing something. But no, I've been down there. I've seen it. I've lived it. And if you haven't, you want to go. Isaac gets woke up. Can you imagine that? Abraham comes in. Hey, son, wake up. God's got somewhere for us to go. We're going to go build an altar. We're going to go take a sacrifice, and God is going to meet with us on a mountain somewhere. And I bet Isaac was just giddy sitting there, and he's like, hey, I'm excited. I want to live through some of this. I want to experience what God has. I want to see what you've been talking about, Daddy. I want to go. He had some excitement to go. There was a time in your life where you told Christ, yes, He saved your soul from hell, and you were excited about anything to come. You said, let's go. I'm ready. I remember that time when I got saved, and the old saying is, I was so fired up, I charged hell with a water pistol. I was excited. I don't know if y'all are excited this morning, but I'm still excited. I still ain't got over it because I've seen God do some things in my life, and He has helped me, and He has answered prayers, and He's been there for me. And now there's an opportunity to go, and Isaac wants to see it. He wants to know what's going on. He's excited about the trip there. But not only is he excited, I believe he was eager to listen. That's a big one right there, ain't it, parents? You get ready to go on vacation. We've been to go, like I said, the first day on Thursday morning, we're leaving at 5 a.m. We're going to drive 11 hours to Omaha. 11 hours with a kid is actually about 14 hours. I don't know what time we're going to get there. If they fall asleep, I might just keep on driving. I don't know, we might just see how far we can go. But no, I told Darden, I said, look, we're going to go on this trip. You got to be good, and you got to listen. And if you're good and you listen, we'll give you a treat. You bribe them? Absolutely. I don't care how the price is. If she'll be good, I'll pay it right now, I promise you. But no, we do that with our kids, do we not? Even if it's a trip to Walmart. Hey, we're going to go and do this, and if you're good, you'll get something when we get ready to leave. We have something that they want, and because of that little carrot, if I can put it that way, that little carrot that we're holding out there that they want, that little prize at the end of that thing, they want to listen. They're eager to listen. He's eager to listen because he's knowing if he listens to his Father, he's going to get to see something on that mountain. He's going to get to meet with God. He's going to get to hear God, and God is going to take care of them, and He's going to give them something they've never had before, so he's eager to listen. I remember when last summer we went out to Pryor, Montana. We picked up some kids there off the Crow Native American Reservation. We brought them down to Ten Sleep, Wyoming. Put on a youth camp. You ever heard that term, wild Indians? Your kids are like wild Indians? It's true. It is true. I ain't kidding. And one of the cabins those boys stay in, it's an old log cabin, and it's got like rafters on it. We walked in there one day, and them dudes looked like Tarzan. They was swinging from the rafters of that place, going back and forth across there, playing the floor is lava. I'm like, how did y'all even get up there? I don't know if they did a 3-tall tower to get up there, had a rope somewhere, or what, but they got up there, and they're swinging back and forth across that thing. And they come up with a great idea one day that we're going to hike up the side of the mountain while we're there. And we're going to take pictures. And I get to lead it. And I have all these little wild Indians that I got to try to keep in line. So we have our little huddle up thing at the end of it. I said, do not get in front of me on the trail. Stay behind me. Do y'all understand? What did I just say? I said, stay behind me. My goodness, it's not that hard. Do not go around me. Stay behind me, because when I say we went on a hike, we're on a pig trail. This little dude ain't this wide, and you look down the other side, and it's 400 or 500 foot down. It's a long way. I've got pictures that I can show you where we're standing up on top of this rock, outcropping, and it's a straight drop to the ground. Them kids are going and looking over, and I'm like, dear God, please. Please, Lord, don't let them fall off of this thing. And I'm trying to get them back, and I'm like, if I holler at them, I'm going to scare them, and they're going to jump. So I got to slowly coax them back from the edge. I'm talking them off the cliff here. So I get them finally up there to me. But I'm telling them, say, look, you have to be careful. Stay behind me. The trail's not good. You need to be cautious. There's places that the trail might fall off. There might be snakes. There might be things that don't need to be on the trail with you there. I'm trying to tell you to listen to me and pay attention, because I'll keep you out of trouble. When we got saved, God told us, if you'll listen to me, there's some things that you don't need to run into that I'll keep off your trail. He said there's some serpents, his name's the devil, that you need to stay away from. There's some slippery slopes that you need to stay away from. And I believe when we got saved, we were eager to listen to it, but after a while, we quit listening. After a while, we quit listening, just like those little Native American kids. Because I go down the trail, and we did real good for about the first, quarter mile. And I look back, and I started with 6 or 7 kids, and I ain't got but 2 behind me. I'm like, dear God, where did they go?
And then, I don't know, they reverted back to their roots. They was climbing trees. They was hiding behind boulders. And I thought I was about to get ambushed. I didn't know what was going on. I cut my hair short so if they scalped me, they wouldn't get nothing. But I'm telling you, I was worried about what was going on. Yeah, some of y'all caught that. I see a few giggles. But no, I'm messing with those kids, and they're talking, and they're messing with me. You think I'm exaggerating. One of them girls come out of the bathroom one night at camp. She had taken red paint and gone and put a big old red handprint on her face. And started talking in Crow. I'm like, dear God, I feel like I'm on Dances with Wolves or Jeremiah Johnson or something. I feel like I'm about to get scalped. I feel like I'm going to get attacked, man. I'm a little bit scared about this thing, a little bit worried. But they just messing with me, and I was messing with them right back. One of them boys, his name was, excuse me, his name was, oh man, I done forgot his name. Davion. His name was Davion. He told me the first day of camp, I said, what's everybody's names? He said, I'm Tyrone. I'm like, in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, you don't look like no Tyrone. You don't look like the Tyrones that I know. But I didn't say nothing to him. I was a little scared, a little worried. But I called him Tyrone for 2 days, and I heard some other kids say, hey, that's Davion. I said, he told me his name's Tyrone. And he said, oh, yeah, he does that just to mess with folks. And then I said, dude, why are you going to do me like that? I've been calling you Tyrone. He said, I just thought it'd be real funny. So we had a big time. We laughing all the time. I'm not being mean to them. They understand that this morning. They know me and I know them. But they were eager to follow at first. But then all of a sudden they thought that they knew the way better than I did. They went around me. They thought that they could watch out for those things better than I could. So they went around me. And are we not the exact same way in our Christian life? Yes, God, I'll listen. Yes, God, I'll follow. Yes, God, I'll stay right behind you. I'm with you all the way. We don't make it no time at all, and all of a sudden, boop, we go around. Come on, Lord, we're going to go where I want to go. You just stay with me. Don't work that way. It don't work that way, because you know why it don't work that way? Because we're taking that little hike, and them kids took the wrong trail, and they took the old trail that was falling apart, when if they'd have gone the right way, they'd had a nice, good, easy trail to walk on to the top. And instead, we look like we're up here tightrope walking. We're doing this number here, trying to keep them falling off the side of the mountain. I'm praying hard. I'm like, dear God, I don't know how many kids I started with. I might have lost 3 of them. I can't even remember. I knew it was going to be bad. But we got out of line and things went south. We've got to stay in line. I believe Isaac was eager to listen because he knew if he wanted to go and he wanted to experience what they were going to see on top of that mountain with God, he had to listen. Child of God, if you want to experience what God has for you, you got to listen. You have got to listen to what God tells you to do. But not only was he eager to listen, I believe he enjoyed the fellowship as well. Think about it. Some of you daddies got kids older than mine. You load them up, say, all right, we're going hunting, we're going fishing, whatever. When you get just them in the vehicle with you, there's no distractions anymore. Is that not the perfect bonding time? Is that not just something that you seek after? Just that alone time with one of your kids? Some are like, dear God, no, I wish they'd go somewhere else. I get that too. I understand that. I've prayed that prayer too, like, Lord, you've got to do something. I'm about to strangle one of these kids. But no, we get to that point where we just want to hang out with our kids some. Dad, now that me and my brother are out of the house, he comes by all the time and he says, I didn't hang out with y'all enough when y'all were at the house. And now none of us have the time. We're all too busy to do it anymore. Me and him, that desk that I've got in the office, we went to Memphis to pick that desk up. And I called him. My truck's got that camper shell on the back of it, and I didn't want to take the dude off. I said, Daddy, what are you doing on Friday? Or whatever day it was, I can't remember. He said, I ain't got nothing. He said, what you need? I said, I need you to drive your truck and let me ride to Memphis, pick this desk up and bring it and help me put it in the church office. He didn't balk one bit. He said, oh yeah, I'm in. Because he was so excited to get in that truck and us to just have that one-on-one time. Just that time with no other distractions, nothing else in the way, just us bonding with one another. Some of you older men, you're thinking back to your daddy right now and that fishing trip you took, or that ball game you went to, or playing catch in the yard, or that hunting camp time, whatever it was. You're thinking back to those experiences that you had where there was no distractions and you could enjoy that fellowship. I believe there, what did he tell him there? He took those young servants, but he said, you stay here and just me and Isaac are going to go forward. He got one-on-one, and when he was one-on-one, there was no distractions whatsoever. Isaac had all of the father's attention, and the father had all of Isaac's attention. When was the last time you got one-on-one with God? He had all of your attention, and you had all of his. You want to know why a lot of people are weak in their Christian life? While a lot of people don't look forward to this mountaintop experience, one, they never experienced it before. They don't know what they're missing. The other thing is they got too many distractions. They can't enjoy it. Let me hit the nail on the head right here for you. We live in the cell phone age. Mamas and daddies, how many times have you told your kid to do something and they didn't do it because they are going 90-0 on that thing? And you're like, I'm fixing to take it and throw it out the window. Video games, same way, it's a distraction. Luke's smiling. Has that been happening to you, Luke? We'll see. He said no. I don't know if I believe it or not. We'll see. But no, we get to this point where everybody is so distracted. You try to talk to somebody, you can't have a conversation with them because there's always something going on. If we do it to one another, do you not realize that you're doing it to God as well? Let me put us all in our place this morning. How much do you tithe to the Lord? What percentage? Somebody help me. 10%. What's 10% of a 24-hour day? 2.4 hours. If we tithe our time, every one of us is cheating God. Because ain't one of us giving 2.5 hours of our day. I'm chief. So don't think I'm just preaching at y'all. I'm trying to get us to realize if we want to enjoy the fellowship with the Lord, we want to enjoy some fellowship with the Father, we might need to take some distractions and get them out of the way and spend some time one-on-one with Him. Go find your prayer closet. Go close that door. Lock that thing down. Pray. Seek God. Let Him work with you and enjoy some time alone with Him. You want to know when the Lord meets with me more than any other time? Is when I'm alone in my truck on the way to work. There's no distractions. The radio goes off. I get in that truck in the morning. I pray all the way to work. And He sits there and He just meets with me. And that one-on-one time, He helps me so very much. Get one-on-one with Him and enjoy the fellowship. But not only was he excited and eager, not only did he enjoy the fellowship, but he had energy to work. Think about Isaac here. Now get in your mind, Isaac's probably somewhere around 10-year-old. Somewhere in that neighborhood, young teenage years, somewhere around there. He takes the lad Isaac. He wakes him up and he says, all right, son, we're going on a trip. We don't know where we're going exactly because God still ain't told me yet. We don't know how far we're going to be gone or how long we're going to be gone or how far we got to go. But I can just see Isaac being giddy. Just jumping up and down, wanting to go on this trip. He ain't ever done it before. He's excited. He's eager. I done told you all of that stuff. But I believe he had so much energy. Anything he told him to do, he's just buzzing around like crazy. You tell your kids the morning before vacation, or the morning before you go to the water park, the morning before you go to an amusement park, or whatever the case, whatever y'all do as a family, whatever your thing is that you enjoy, when you tell them we're fixing to go and do it, what are they doing? Jumping up and down with excitement, and they're eager to do whatever you want them to do. Darden, we took her to swim at my mama's house yesterday. Water's still freezing cold. It was a bad idea. She shivered the whole time. But she wanted to swim. She loved it. You know what we told her? We said, before you swim, you've got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this. You got to take care of some things. You got to clean up your toys. You got to pack this up. You got to get your towel. You got to put your shoes on. You got to get dressed. You got to do these things. You know, I'm thinking, she's 2.5. She is 2.5, and I expect a lot out of her because she can do it. I set the bar high. She's going for it. She's doing a great job. Shoes might be on the wrong feet. The outfit might be on backwards. But she got it on. She's ready to rock and roll. So we got there, and it was time to go swim. But I said, if you want to swim, you got to do some things. I believe when Abraham was telling Isaac, pack your bag, son. Go saddle up that donkey. Go get ready. Go do some things. And Isaac was just jumping and ready to go. How were you the day that you got saved? You was ready. You were ready to do. You were eager. You were willing. You were excited. You had the energy to go and do it. And now look at us. We're all old and tired and decrepit Christians. We don't want to do nothing. We just want to sit around. You'll know why churches are dead? Because the people sitting on the pews are dead and the preacher's dead. Because they don't have the energy to do nothing. They just want to show up. They want to give a little cookie cutter lesson. They want to sit on the pew, and they want to come out the back door and say, preacher, that sure was good, knowing they didn't listen to half of what he said, and the preacher don't know half of what he preached because he ain't prayed about it, and he ain't studied, and we've gone through the motions, but when we left, we felt good and patted ourselves on the back because we went to church on Sunday morning. I ain't trying to be mean. I'm just telling you where we're at. And that's where we're at. Nobody has the energy to work anymore. I want some folks that are excited and fired up to serve God. I want some people that want to go. I'll go back to that camp we went on for those kids. Man, they had like 22 kids that we had to get to camp. We had one 15-passenger van. If you was curious, you can put 22 Native Americans on a 15-passenger van with all of the recreation stuff and all their bags. They pulled up on that camp. They opened the door, and it's like they all fell out like circus clowns. Stuff was rolling out the doors. It was all over the place. I don't know how we got it all in there or got it back on there when they left. But we said, get ready to go, and they jumped in, and they could not get on that van quick enough. No AC, no seat for them. They're sitting in each other's laps. And guess what they said? We get to go to camp. We'll do whatever it takes. Because they knew there was some excitement to be had. They knew there was a fun time ahead of them. Child of God, there's a lot of fun times ahead. But I believe a lot of us, we won't go through what it takes to get there. We're not excited. We ain't got no energy. We ain't eager. We're not enjoying the fellowship. We're not doing none of that. And we're missing a lot of things. I wrote this down in the margin of my notes. Why should I want to serve God and live for Him? Because there is an avenue for a lazy Christian to still get to heaven. You can be saved and then say that's it. You're not going to lose your salvation. We don't believe in that. The Bible doesn't teach that. It teaches the eternal security of the believer. You can be saved and just sit there and do nothing. Just like Isaac could have still been his father's son and not gone. But what all would he have missed while he was gone, while he wasn't going? You'll know why Christians are miserable today and they act defeated all the time? It's because they're not getting to do any of the fun things with God because they won't get up and go. They won't say yes. They're not eager. They're not wanting to do anything. They just want to go to church, mark that box off, be done with it, feel satisfied with themselves, and then that is it. That is as far as it goes, and they are happy with that. That same employee that shows up and clocks in 30 seconds before the bell rings and leaves 30 seconds after the bell, and you never hear anything from them, you never see anything from them, they're miserable, they put their head down, they just do their job, and they leave, and they do the bare minimum. Ain't no fun in that. Ain't no joy in that. No wonder Christians are upset and bored. No wonder they ain't having a fun time in church. No wonder they're not excited about God coming and meeting with them. They ain't never experienced it, and they don't want to. It baffles me. I don't understand why anybody would want to do that. I never signed up to play baseball so I could sit on the bench and watch everybody else play. It don't make no sense to me. Why in the world would I do that? If I was just going to sit on the bench, I could just go sit on the bleacher. And then I could get up and give me a drink when I wanted to. And I wouldn't have to show up and run and practice. Why wouldn't I just do that? Why we got a lot of bench warmer Christians don't want to do nothing? They want to claim, I'm on the team. You are, but you ain't doing nothing. Let me move on. You got the trip there, and I got to hurry. You got the time on top. This is really where I wanted to get. You see, there's some things that are happening here as they've gotten on top of here. Verse number 4. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Remember that. It's not right there. It's afar off. Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with this ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, pay attention, laid it upon Isaac his son, took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went on, both of them together. First thing I notice on this trip to the top there, that time going towards the top as they're walking up that thing, is there's some logs to carry. There's a burden to carry for Isaac. He's sitting there thinking, man, this trip was great when I was just hanging out and I was just talking and joking and I was riding along or I was walking along and we was enjoying it, but now the burden's on my back and I'm headed up. And I wonder if he ever had the thought of, man, I should have just stayed home. I should have just stayed home. I wouldn't have had this burden. But I believe if he'd had that thought, he'd have followed it up with this. Yeah, but if I'd have stayed home, I wouldn't have got to meet with God on top of this mountain. I wouldn't have gotten to be there. I wouldn't have gotten to hear His voice. I wouldn't have gotten to experience that. Child of God, why do you keep serving? It's for those experiences. It's for the times that God steps in and works. It's for that crowns that you'll get. It's those rewards you'll get in heaven. It's those things that God has given you for your service. There's a burden to carry. There's logs to carry up top. I believe when he first got that thing on, he's about like me on that elk hunt, Brother David. I got that pack on. I've got like 6 days worth of MRE meals. I was excited. That tells you how goofy I was right there. I was excited for 6 days of MREs. That was bad. About as bad as they were. I got a picture of Leighton Horton, Brother Doug's daughter. She went with us that first time of her first bite of MRE. She's sitting there. We ain't got no chairs. We're just sitting on the dirt. She's got a little fire, and she's got a pot. She's going to cook that MRE in it, and she takes that first bite, and she goes like that right there, and I got it on camera. It's great. I send it to her once in a while just to make fun of the way her face looked. But no, I was so excited. Man, I put that 50, 60-pound pack on my back. We had a pin dropped on the map. We said, we got to hike 3 miles in on this trail. I'm ready, boy. It wasn't nothing going to slow me down. Wasn't nothing going to stop me. I put my pack on. I cinched them straps up. I buckled that hip belt. And I said, let's strike out and go. And I was just nearly running going up that thing. I said, man, this ain't so bad. And then it started going uphill. And it got bad. And it got bad quick. And then old fat boy ran out of breath because I'm from Mississippi. And it ain't near as high here as it is up there. And I run out of breath. And that air got thin. And I looked at Brother Doug and said, just leave me here. Just leave me. I'll get there eventually. He picked on me that first day because he wasn't carrying nothing but binoculars and water. I had my pack on like a moron. I don't know why I did it. I know better now. But on the way back out, we're sitting there, and him and Leighton, they're doing good. He's like, we need to go. It's just right over there. I said, I know where it is. You go. I'll get there before nighttime, but I ain't going to go right now. I've got nothing left. I believe when he put that burden on, he was excited to carry it. I believe when Christians get saved, God gives them a position. God gives them something to do. Hey, you're teaching Sunday school now and you're excited about it. You got a burden. You're willing to carry it. You're playing a part on the team. You're excited to be in God's army and serve. But after you've toted it a little while, it sure does get heavy, don't it? After you toted it a little while, that burden begins to wear on you. Those straps begin to cut into my shoulders. That hip belt began to sag a little bit. And I'd sit there and I'd do this right here. Brother Doug said, what's wrong with you? I said, my hips are hurting and this makes them feel better, so I'm going to stay like this right here for a little while. And I'd stand back up and I'd walk some more. And I'd bend back over. And he'd say, son, you're so weak. I've had a knee replacement and I'm still up here outrunning you. I said, I'm toting more than you. I ain't never been up here for it. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't train. I didn't study. I didn't do none of that. I just said, hey, boy, let's go. I jumped in. I was ill prepared. Christians are ill prepared today. They ain't studied. They don't know what's happening. There's no wisdom there. There's no spiritual maturity. We just jumped in. We grabbed our burden and we went. And we wonder why we get tired and wore out. Sometimes you got to prepare yourself for that. You got to train for that. I had some logs to carry. I believe there were times there was some lazy talk. If Isaac's anything like me, what did I say? Abraham saw it what? Close or far off? He saw it afar off. He said, all right, y'all stop right here and we're going to go on up. After I done carried them logs a little while, I'd have looked at my daddy and said, what were you thinking? Why didn't we take the donkey farther? Why did you park so far away? Dad does that mess all the time. We go to an amusement park or something like that on vacation, and he'd park as far as he could away. I'm like, are we even in the parking lot for the theme park? I feel like we should have just stayed at the hotel and walked from there. He said, I don't want to get no door dings. From who? We're the only car out here. Is a bird going to just dive bomb your car? I mean, what is going to happen? Why park so far away? Why didn't we let the donkeys go farther? Or you brought 2 servants with you. Why didn't you let them tote the wood, Dad? But I believe in that lazy talk Abraham would just have to say, because this is what God has told me to do. It might not make sense, but you just keep on walking. There's been a lot of times where God's told me to do something, and I've had to swallow my own pride and my own ideas and say, Lord, it don't make sense to me. But let's go. Let's just keep on walking. Let's just keep on going in the way that He tells me to go. And all this is building up to a time on top of this mountain. There was surely some lazy talk where Isaac had ideas to make it easier. I'm sure there were times when he lagged behind because he got tired of toting those logs. And Abraham had to encourage him and say, come on, just a little further. Or maybe they got to a real rough patch going up that mountain, and Abraham would grab him by the arm and help him over those patches. I sure am glad I got a God that'll reach down when I'm going through some rough patches, and He'll grab a hold to me, and He'll help me through that. Don't sit here and act to me like you ain't never been through rough patches in your life. You have, and so have I. But here's what I want you to notice, and I'm coming down to a close here, okay? There was a point in time in this text where Isaac realizes something. He says right here in verse number 7, and Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, my father, and he said, here am I, my son. And he said, behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, my son, God will provide Himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. He asked a question, and he didn't really get an answer. He just said, hold on, you'll find out in a minute. God's going to provide. God's going to take care of it. Don't you just love that answer? When you in your Christian life, you're just having a terrible time, life has beat you down, and somebody comes in all their great wisdom and says, just hold on. Just hold on. Just pray a little bit longer. God's going to deliver. Don't that just burn you up? That's about like when you was a little kid and you used to ask Mama a million questions, say, why? And eventually Dad would say, because I said so. Good gracious, is that not enough? I always hated that answer because I wanted to know. I want to know how it worked. I still do. That's why I'm an engineer. I like to take it apart. I want to know how it works. But there was a lack of a sacrifice. Think about this. Isaac has agreed to go on this journey because his daddy told him they were going to do a sacrifice. And what happens at the sacrifice? God was going to meet with them. He's gone through all of this trouble because he wants to go up there and experience God in the way that his daddy has experienced God. That's what is on Isaac's mind. But after they have gone 3 days, after they've cut the wood, after he's carried it halfway up this mountain, along that journey somewhere, I don't know if it was at the start, if it was the middle, if it was at the end, I don't know, but going up towards this thing, before they set that altar up, Isaac has realized, oh my goodness, we don't have the main part of this whole deal. We can't meet with God with no sacrifice. All we've done now is come up here with a bonfire. Well, God ain't going to be in this thing because there ain't no sacrifice. What are we going to do, Dad? We done messed this thing up. Said, I've got the wood, you got the knife, and you got the fire, but we ain't got no sacrifice. With no sacrifice, we're not going to meet with God. And when we don't meet with God, this has been a wasted trip, and I'm not getting what I wanted out of this thing. I'm not getting to experience that. He said there's a lack of a sacrifice. I wanted to hear and see God, and now I can't because there is no sacrifice. Then in verse number 9, Isaac gets his answer. I believe he's pointing out that there's no sacrifice. Verse 9, it says, and they came to the place which God had told him of. Abraham built an altar, laid the wood in order. I believe as he's sitting there, they get to the top. Abraham looks at Isaac and says, all right, son, come here. This is the spot where God's going to meet with us. This is the spot where we're going to build this altar, where God is going to speak to us, where we're going to have a time with Him. You're finally going to get to have that experience that I've been telling you about. Bring that wood over here. He begins to put that wood in place. He's setting it right, doing all this. The whole time Isaac's over here like, I still don't see no sacrifice. I still don't see the main ingredient to this thing. Abraham just keeps on working on that thing, putting that altar together. When he gets it set up, Abraham looks up at his boy with tears in his eyes. He says, all right, son, you've been asking about the sacrifice. It's you. You're the sacrifice. And it says that Abraham bound his son. It says that Abraham built the altar there, laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. You see, when the Lord began to give me this sermon to work on my heart about this thing, it was in the middle of the night the other night. Y'all wouldn't believe this, but my kids had me up. I rocked Darden for 3 hours straight. She would not go to sleep. I don't know what it was. Man, she just turned and turned and turned. I was fed up with it. That was one of them times I was praying, God, do something. I'm going to strangle her. Lord, you've got to step in. You've got to do something. About the time she starts to get quieted down and go to bed, finally get her down. I ain't been in bed just a couple hours. Nate wakes up. He gets fired up. Darden wakes up again. Darden wants Sue. So that leaves me with Nate. And I'm sitting here in the middle of the night, and I'm like, buddy, I ain't got nothing to feed you. I can't help you out on this. So I'm just kind of shaking him a little bit. Not shaking, baby, ain't that far, all right? I ain't mad at him. I'm just got to give him a little jiggle. Your parents know what I'm talking about. Give him that little jiggle, trying to get him to sleep. And I finally gets going there to Sue. I said, can we swap? Like, this ain't working for me. Let me have that one, and you take this one. And I'm sitting there, and while I'm doing that, I'm so frustrated. I'm so upset. I'm just mad in my mind. And I'm praying to God. I'm like, Lord, why? Why is this happening to me? Why can't my kids just sleep? I mean, why can't they just get something simple? Really, you prayed about that? I pray about everything. I pray about small stuff because I believe that's what the Lord wants us to do. But I pray about all those things. Darden acting right on the church pew, we pray about that. Nate going good through the church, we pray about. We do all of those things. But I'm praying, God, why is this burden on me? Why am I having to go through with this? And he just hit me and he said, you remember what you're going to preach Sunday? Because I was already studying the text. He said Isaac had a burden on him, but it wasn't just the burden. He was also what? The sacrifice. He said, you want to know why you're serving? You want to know why you're having to pray so much? Why you're having to study so much? You want to know why you're doing all this? You want to know why you're living for me? You want to know why you're wore down? Why you're tired? Why you get ready to quit sometimes? You want to know why? Because your body is a sacrifice unto me. You want me to read it to you? I'll read it to you. Well, what does it say? In Romans 12:1, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. But let me tie this in for you here, and I'm going to sum it up right here. Ladies, if y'all want to start getting your stuff together to play this morning, that'll be just fine. But there's a lack of a sacrifice. There's a lack of understanding. Isaac, no doubt, is thinking to himself, I came to see the sacrifice, to hear from God. We all want to see a sacrifice. We all want to hear from God, but we don't want to be the sacrifice. Isaac didn't want to be that sacrifice, I'm sure. You might not want to be the sacrifice this morning, but I want to tell you something in the text, and you'll notice it here with me. They finally get up there. He binds Isaac. He puts him on that altar. And then we know how the story goes. Abraham stretched forth his hand with that knife, even to kill Isaac. God speaks to him and says, no, don't do it. Don't harm the lad. And then all of a sudden the ram pops up, stuck in the thicket. He ends up on the altar instead. God did provide that lamb. But I want to point some things out about Isaac that nobody notices. What was his burden the whole way up that mountain? That wood on his back, right? He's been toting it up that mountain. He's tired. He's weary. He's worn. He's just trying to go see God. He's just trying to get up there so he can experience something with God. And he's toting this burden the whole time. And now that he gets up there, he's been told that he's the sacrifice. He said, hold on. This isn't what I wanted. But God did meet with him, did he not? Didn't he speak with him? When? It wasn't before he got on that altar as a sacrifice. You want to know why God's not speaking to us today? Because we're wanting to stand off to the side and we're not presenting ourselves as sacrifice. We're not being that sacrifice. We're not binding that flesh up and laying it on that altar and letting Him take that from us. Instead, we want to stand back and say, God, we want all the good. We want to hear from you. We want to see you move. We want to have good church services, but we don't want to pray. We don't want to study. We don't want to be there on time. We don't want to sing loud. We want to do anything. We want to watch everybody else sacrifice and us just get to reap the benefits. That's the Christian mindset of today, and that's why we're in the position that we are. But notice, when did Isaac get what he wanted? When did he get that experience with God? After he offered himself a sacrifice. But not only that, when they did that sacrifice, and they lit that ram up, and they burned him there on that altar, and they started to go back down that mountain, what wasn't on Isaac's shoulders anymore? That wood burden. That burden that you're toting this morning, that is wearing you out, that you can't seem to get off of your back, that has got you weary and beat down, the one that's making you want to stop and not go on any further. You know how to get rid of it? Sacrifice that flesh. Because if you'll bind that up and you'll put it on that altar, when that flesh is sacrificed, something was happening that I don't know if Isaac realized. You see, Isaac was watching that sacrifice when they finally got that ram on there. He was watching that sacrifice there, and he was knowing that that was supposed to be him. And when we put our flesh on that altar and it's sacrificed and we can watch what God is taking away from us, we don't realize it, but at the same time, that burden is burning up too. You don't know, when I get weary and I get wore and I get beat down and I'm ready to just quit, you know what helps me? It's not taking a siesta and quitting on God. It's when I get back into it and I study more and I pray more and I serve more. And all of a sudden, along the way, I don't even remember the burden that I had, Brother Johnny. It's like God just took it away. I'm trying to tell you this morning, we've all got burdens. We've all got things that are hindering us. It might be medical problems. It might be financial problems. It might be family problems. It might be this. It might be marriage problems. It might be whatever this morning. You might be struggling with something, because we're all human and we all have struggles. We all have strifes. We have all of these things. But if you'll go up there and you'll bind that flesh and you'll put it on that altar and you'll let God burn it up, you won't realize it. But when you get rid of some of yourself, get rid of some of your flesh, that burden half the time will be gone too. It's often been said a church that's in financial trouble needs to take on a missionary. I don't know if you've ever heard that or not, but it seems kind of counterproductive, don't it? Church ain't got no money, so let's take on a missionary and give them some more money, so let's go farther in the hole. But I've seen it time and time again, that church all of a sudden starts to spring up. Lord, do something with it. Child of God, you might be hurting, you might be burdened. I'm going to tell you the best way to fix it this morning, sacrifice your flesh. I know it don't make sense. I know when you're sitting there looking at it, it's like, I'm already giving so much. That's why I feel like I'm hurting. That's why I feel burdened. That's why I feel beat down. Well, let me tell you this morning, if you'll give just a little bit more, God will take that away from you. Because half the time, let me ask you this. In your Christian journey, what is it that's getting weak and burdened and weary? Is it your spirit or your flesh? It's flesh, right? The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. You'll know the problem. You'll know the reason that we get so weary and burdened down and tired in the Christian life. It's because we're letting our flesh stick around. It's because we're trying to tote the flesh with us in the direction the Spirit wants to go. Hebrews 12, verses 1 and 2 talks about running that race. It says, let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. That's the tail end of verse 1, the beginning of verse number 2. But it also says in there, let us set aside that weight that doth so easily beset us. You know what that weight is? It's the flesh. Isaac didn't get his experience with God until he was willing. I understand he was bound. But when he was on that altar and he was that sacrifice. You want to know when you're going to get your experience with God? Is when you sacrifice that flesh and you say, God, I'm yours. Take me. My life is yours. We sing that little children's song, Lord, take my life and make it what you want it be. We'll sing that song, Lord, you're the potter and I'm the clay. Take me, mold me, make me what you want me to be. We'll say those words, but we don't mean it in our hearts. Because every single one of us is holding on to the flesh. Holding on to the flesh. But if we'll take that thing and we'll offer it up as a sacrifice unto Him, that burden's going to be gone too. Because the spirit ain't weak. The flesh is weak. If we're going to succeed for God, there's got to be less of us and more of Him. I'll put this piece of paper up here on this pulpit. It simply says, I must decrease so that He can increase. That's the story of the Christian life. Take up your cross daily. Die daily. Present your body as a living sacrifice. It is your reasonable service. If we want that experience with God, we want to see Him, we want to hear from Him, there's some flesh that's got to be crucified. There's some flesh that's got to be offered up as a sacrifice. We've got to get that out of our lives. And you'd be shocked how quickly that burden is gone. Ladies, if you'd play, let's all stand this morning.